Hello and welcome back to New Paradigm Healing. This series focuses on ayahuasca-assisted therapy. Our intention is to educate, inform, and support the conscious and responsible use of ayahuasca in the Western context. If you want to know more about ayahuasca-assisted therapy and our upcoming trainings and workshops, sign up for our mailing list to be the first one to know about the latest news at avatarhealingarts.com. So hello and welcome back to Ayahuasca Assisted Therapy podcast, and I'm here again with my dear brother Faisal, and we're gonna do a part 2 to our previous conversation focusing on like inner child healing and healing the inner child, especially in relation with ayahuasca, and just talk a little bit about why is this topic is so big in I think any kind of healing, not just with the medicine, this inner child work. And I know that you were very much into it, as you shared a little bit of your story, and you also wrote a book and created a technique called the Arbol method. So I would love to know a little bit more and your experience with inner child healing, and then coming up with this book and this framework, and how do you use it, and what is your experience in your practice as a guide for others, and of course like your own personal story. So welcome back.
Hey, thank you, sister. Thank you, Nina. It was fantastic last time. I mean, we went over time. We had so much fun talking about it, and that tells everyone that how dear to us is this subject, like how we are into this and we talk from the heart. And nowadays it's really, really important the way society is and what we're going through. People are coming up with so many traumas and wounds, and as we know, most of it starts from the childhood. And I'm glad that people are turning towards these plant medicines, which can actually in reality help them to not only connect with the roots or the causes of their psychological problems and physical diseases too, better than the pharmaceuticals we have been used to or got used to for so many decades. So this is the right time. A lot of us, including myself and you, we have turned towards the nature, towards organic stuff, towards the medicines given to us by universe, by this earth. We don't need to look too far. So yes, I am excited about this topic. This is very close to my heart. Yes, let's dive into it.
So let's start with, I think, for people who are not in the healing field, to understand, why this is so important, and why a lot of childhood trauma, gets carried into adulthood and keep affecting our lives. And just the idea, obviously, like from a logical perspective, when you are a child, you don't necessarily have strength, resources, awareness, to deal with stressful situation or abuse or something like that, because you are simply, you are a child. So just coming, from that perspective, it's easy to understand people why, the same thing happening to a child that would happen to an adult, it creates a bigger impact in childhood, because it's like so much more difficult to deal with that, whatever we are confronting. And also, just the idea that, our personality is developing, until we are like 7 years old, and then our body develops. So we are under development, like psychologically, physically, emotionally, and any kind of major impact, that happens during that time can, just affect, like hugely our whole life, even in the future, which might not necessarily would be the case if it happens to an adult who has, resources and understanding to deal with different situations. So, that's why, like, I never met like anybody in my practice who didn't have to do inner child work. Like, I don't know if there is maybe some people who didn't have any trauma in childhood. I just, I'm not meeting those people because I'm into this type of work. So I'm not saying that it's not possible, but definitely it is my experience that people who are drawn to healing and self-discovery, they will encounter this aspect, in their life. And as you mentioned, I think for me the plant medicine, especially the ayahuasca, what helped me to access, these memories. I think a lot of people don't even remember what happened to them. That was certainly partially the case with me. Like, I did have memories that I didn't remember for a long, long time. They were so suppressed. It was this kind of traumatic amnesia thing going on. So I think, that this might be the case with many people, that they say, wow, I had a good childhood. I don't really, it was okay, it was normal, and I don't recall, anything major happening. So that's not necessarily means that things did not happen, because somebody doesn't remember. And the plants can help us to access those memories. And also, as you said, the plants and the ayahuasca brings us to the root of the problem. And normally the root is sometimes early, in our lives. And that goes back to childhood, or even, to the birth experience. And we can just, peel back more layers, but definitely childhood, that is like a defining principles. So I would love to know, like a little bit your own experience. I think you talked in the last podcast about, you having sexual abuse when you were a child, and how that came up for you, and the medicine helped you to access that and to integrate that aspects of yourself. So was that like a major catalyst for you to come up with the Arbol method? Like, how did the Arbol method, was born, and yeah, what is it about? Tell me about that.
All right. I get that question. I asked that question a lot. So as you know, arbol in Spanish is tree. Okay. So when I started working with plant medicine myself, and that was about 10 years ago, and the main focus or intent or intention at that time was to deal with my own trauma, which I was carrying for a long time. And prior to working with plant medicine, I was already working with my mentor on a psychological level. Like, we were going really, really deep into relationships, why my behaviors were like that, or why I had temper tantrums, or why I had some anger issues, things like that. So I was already diving really, really deep and connecting with my inner child and finding the roots. And as soon as I got into the plant medicine, the first ayahuasca ceremony, right away I was in my childhood with that 5-year-old Faisal who got sexually abused. And that was my intention, to really connect and heal, because on a psychological level, when you are working with a mentor or a psychologist, it's different. It's more theory, it's more, reading through the books, and it's like more a systematic approach. But with plant medicine, it's like you're doing experiment in the laboratory now. First let's talk about chemistry. So first you were talking about the formulas and the elements and everything through the books. So you have all that, you have the understanding. And then once you do the plant medicine, it's just like going into the chemistry lab and actually mixing the ingredients and seeing the smoke and the fire and everything coming up and new elements forming. So this is exactly what happened in my first ceremony. Like, I was with that 5-year-old. In quantum physics, as we know, we have doppelgangers. Many, many thousands of Faisals are out there, and many, many thousands of Ninas are out there. So, and every version of us, it never dies. It's always there. There's a Faisal who's a doctor, there's a Faisal who's a king, a beggar, I don't know, a cook, chef, a mechanic. So they're all there. And so was that 5-year-old Faisal. So he showed up and he actually took me there, the incident, when it happened, how it happened, and I watched it. It was like watching 3D movie, but sitting right there, happening right away. So that was life changing. Like I was able to actually see the root, the cause, why it was happening, and how it shaped my life for next few decades. How I became an introvert, how I got bullied in school because I was introvert and I was not confident and I wasn't sure and I was scared of other boys. So that shaped my life. And I was able to see, okay, this is what happened. And this is what happened after that when I became a teenager, when I moved to States, when I became, independent student without any family in States. So my reactions were still connected with that root cause. I was still afraid inside, even though I had freedom. And then it played into my relationship with my wife, and then when we had our daughter. So everything was started from there, that incident, that major incident. There were many other things too, of course, but that was the biggest cause. That was the root. And once I saw that okay, all these things for the last few decades are happening because of that cause or the root or that incident many years ago. Once I got to know that, then I knew in order to be happy and joyful and live a beautiful human life, there is nothing outside which will help me, which I was, you know, um, looking for many years, like cars, houses, clothes and everything, as most of us do. So I was running after all those things too, like money and whatnot. But once I saw that cause, I'm like, oh, this is not what's needed. What's needed is more love and compassion and understanding of that 5-year-old Faisal who is still there, who is still looking for protection, for love, for attention, and toys too. So that this is when everything changed and I started connecting with that inner child at a different level. Like I said, I had worked with my mentor on a psychological level of working with the inner child, but now this got real. This was like sitting with that 5-year-old Faisal in 3D and having a talk and crying and laughing and and after that, coming out of ceremonies, taking him to the park with my girls, going on the slides. I was like close to 40 at that time. So I'm going up the slides with the girls coming down, having that 5-year-old in my mind, imagining him. Some days I would go take him I will ask him, what do you need today or what do you want? And he'll say ice cream. So I'm like, all right, let's go have an ice cream, things like that. And one time I bought a big remote control truck because this is what that 5-year-old Faisal wanted at that time, but couldn't get it. So I'm like, all right, now we can do it. Like, look at me. I'm grown up. You're grown up. We have money. We are strong enough. We are confident. So let's buy that and enjoy it. So, and many other things. So once I saw that this process of working with the plant medicine has helped me, and it actually did, like really, it helped not only my own relationship with myself, but also with my wife, with my daughters. Like it changed everything. Like the whole family dynamics changed just because I started working with the plant medicine and the inner child, and I found the root cause. So after working many years, in different modalities and also different plant medicines, I realized that, okay, now it had helped me and it keeps on helping me, but also it's time to give back. There are many other vessels like me who are out there, or many female vessels out there, who have gone through this trauma, or maybe they're still going through that trauma. So why not give it back? Why not help them? And always people ask me, okay, what do you get out of it when you are facilitating? Of course, one thing is it's a business, you know, but this other thing is, which is most important, is every time I'm able to get somebody on their path of healing, connecting them with their own inner child, you know, that gives me gratification. That gives me love and attention to that little 5-year-old, you know. Um, Healing is a lifelong process. So it does not mean I have healed everything. No, I am still healing every day, every ceremony, even when I'm facilitating. So when I see in the Maloka, where I'm sitting right now, uh, people connecting with their inner child, with their wounds, and realizing, man, they have been running after the the stuff which doesn't even matter, you know, the attachments, the actual stuff is inside, the actual healing inside. Once I see that and I see smile on their faces, crying, tears coming down, that gives me that satisfaction. Hey, Faisal, you did it. You know, you are worth enough. That 5-year-old, listen, man, you are here. Every time I bring him in the ceremony too, actually. And I'm like, listen, we did it, buddy. You know, all these people, they're getting healed because you decided to help me out. You 5-year-old decided to come on board, you know, heal ourselves, and then now give it back. So now, so I was, okay, there has to be a system. How can I make it simple? Because we can get into the psychology and all different philosophies, and people who are new to this work, not everyone wants to, you know, listen to all the psychological talks and that jargon and whatnot. Everybody wants a simple, quick answer. How can we get the healing quickly? And not everyone is into spirituality. So I was like, okay, what needs to be done? So I went back into my own process, like, how did I get help quickly? So what I found was, like, I was always into mechanics and physics and things like that, electronics, making projects, but also into esoteric stuff, Sufism and all the, you know, secret hidden things and knowledges and philosophies. And what helped me was having belief in both. So I didn't go too deep into both sides, but I had enough knowledge from both sides where my analytical mind could make sense from the physics and chemicals in the plant medicine, and it could understand why it works and how it works. And on the other hand, being involved in Sufism and esoteric and shamanism, I could also connect with the spirits, and I could understand the spirit of the medicine and all the other spirits, the guardian angels, the power animals who are also here to help us. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. This is a cool, you know, mix, and pretty much everybody can understand that, you know, especially from people coming from the modern world. Uh, they want to see proof. They want to know the logic behind why is it happening. Not everybody believes in shamanism. So if you offer them plant medicine, they're like, oh, I don't know how it works, you know. So then I'm like, okay, there are these chemicals in ayahuasca, there are these chemicals in wachuma. This is how it works. This is what happens in your body, your serotonin and all these receptors and whatnot. So then they're like, okay, now I understand it. So that is when the Arbol method was born. And the easiest way to explain is, if we look at a tree, even if you think for a second, you walk around and you look at trees. Some trees are beautiful, big, healthy. Some are crooked, you know, some have the weird holes on the trunk and branches are crooked. If you pay attention, you know, we never pay attention to where this tree is coming from. Tree actually is coming from the bottom. And everything depends, the health depends upon the roots. What kind of roots that tree got when it was born. And it was born from a little seed, you know. And depending upon the circumstances around it, the soil, the water, the minerals, and who was taking care of it, that tree became what it is now after, let's say, 20 years, 50 years, or 200 years later. Crooked or straight or strong or weak, you know? So it all started with the seed and with the roots, how deep the roots are, how strong the roots are. So humans are same. We started from the little seed. And when we started growing up, that little seed started growing, let's say, roots. And at that time, everything was dependent upon what was around that little baby. What kind of parents they had, what kind of, what they're fighting, what they're loving, what they're giving that baby, good nutrition, good food, and good thoughts, spiritually too. Was there any trauma? Did somebody cut a root one day by accident or intentionally, right? And then eventually that baby grows up just like every other tree, but it will bear the characteristics of whatever happened during those first 4, 5, 10 years, right? And then we grow up just like a tree, and the roots are hidden under the soil. Nobody looks at them. Same thing, that inner child, that little seed is still inside. Even in quantum physics, we say that like that child never died, it is still there. So same thing, we never look inside because the roots and that seed is inside. We cannot see. We just see the outside trunk, the whole body, just like a tree. We never pay attention to what kind of roots that tree has or what kind of roots this young man or a woman has. So whenever something happens to, let's say, a tree, most of us who don't know this, we'll start cutting the branches, or we'll try to make it pretty from outside, wash it, spray it, or put some pesticides or whatever. But that is just from the outside. It doesn't work for that long. The real way is, I was just watching actually our caretaker this morning, Synchronicity. I was watching him. There were some lime trees we planted, plants, and I was like, hey, listen, man, this is like 2 years and he's not giving any fruit. What's going on? So today I saw him. He was digging a little hole in front of that tree because it is on the slope. So this is a tree, and he was digging a hole here. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm gonna put Habono, the fertilizer, in there and the water because it is on the slope. So it will go in, it will get to the roots. I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. And that is again the Arbol method. In Arbol method, we go inside instead of putting a band-aid outside, or instead of just going to a counselor and for an hour and just talking superficially. And we all know that doesn't go for long. It doesn't help that for that long. With plant medicine, in the Arbol method, we dig deep. We go inside. We find the roots. What's going on? How healthy roots are? What do we need to give those roots? What kind of nutrients? What kind of thoughts? What kind of, does it need love? Does it need attention? Was it squeezed a lot, or there's there's a scab or there's a wound on any of the roots? So we go in there, connect with that seed, connect with that inner child, and find out what that inner child, that seed is looking for. So we go in there, find out exactly what happened first. Talking about roots, there's an exercise where we find out what are the main 5 roots. A lot of people call them values. So most of us, we don't know our roots. Like, what are we based upon? What is our life based upon? So in one meditation, we go in and we find out, okay, these are my main 5 roots. Maybe some people are very honest, but when they grew up, maybe because of their parents or society, they were taught to lie or cheat a bit. So there is a confusion going on in the mind because their innate characteristic, the one they were born with, was being honest. But now over years, they created this conflict subconsciously or consciously. So they're not happy. They have that anger, you know. Someone, maybe one of their roots is to have their own downtime with themselves. They always need that. Some people are like that, like myself. I need to have some downtime, especially after ceremonies, even away from my daughters and wife. I just need to sit, meditate, solitude pretty much every day. That's why I get up early. So that is my one of the roots. And if I don't get that, I can become cranky. That affects my life. And a lot of people, we don't know these things. So we're just operating and we're trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with me. I'm not happy, da 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 da, because we never looked at our roots. So that is just one exercise we do. And along with that, now we're working with, especially in the Arbol method, 1 week long retreat. We do 3 ceremonies. Two, what I call jungle ceremony, which is the mother ceremony, working with ayahuasca, and one is I call desert ceremony, which is the wachuma ceremony. So mother and father, both energies. And in between, we work with psychology, and we have different exercises. I have different meditations. One, talking about shamanism and working with the spirits, a lot of us, we don't know what kind of helpers we have from the other worlds, what kind of guardian angels we have, what kind of spirit animals we have. And each one of us, we have spirit animals, maybe 1, 2, 3, or 5, who knows. So in one meditation I created, in that we go in a specific place, and that is in the upper world. These spirit animals, they stay in the upper worlds. So we go in the upper world through a very deep meditation, and we find that client's spirit animals. So it's like, we all have those. It's like you are a very good mechanic and you have a tool belt and you got lots of tools. But there are some tools which you don't know how to use. So what's the point of having that tool belt when you cannot use all the tools, and some tools you might really need in a specific situation? So the power animals, they're also our tools. We are given those. But a lot of us, we don't know them. So by knowing them, we can call upon their help in certain times when we have anxiety or we don't know what's going on in our lives. We can call upon them for safety, for wisdom, for guidance. So that is one thing. Another one is now talking about, a lot of people talk about the dark side or the black energy and things like that, or entities. So in my belief, pretty much we all face with those things. Let's call them dark entities. So what are they? There are many explanations. For me, they are our own fears, which were born with us. Maybe we carried them from previous life, or because of some trauma happened in our childhood, or somebody taught us. Maybe mamas told us, hey, under the bed there's a ghost. So if you are too naughty, the ghost will come out at nighttime and eat you, or whatever, or don't go outside in the dark. There are, I don't know, this 5-headed monster, just so the kids will stay home, right? And so we create that in our psyche. Even when we are 50-year-old, that 5-headed monster is still living there. That ghost under the bed, it is still there. And then sometimes if somebody had sexual trauma or other abuse, they also become fears, and also that fear takes a specific shape, again, depending upon the person's psyche. So in the medicine, in the ceremonies, mostly all those things show up. And what are they? They are representing our fears. So in the Arbol method, we have another exercise where I take people through meditation, deep meditation, in the underworld. So that is where all those fears live. So there's a specific meditation. We go there and we face those fears, all those shapes and figures, whatever it is. So I take my clients, sit with them, because as you may already know, the best way to, get rid of a fear is face the fear. Most of us, we are running, we are hiding away from fear. I did that too for many years. But the best way is just sitting with it and, okay, what's up? Who are you? What are you trying to teach me? Because every fear is also trying to teach us a lesson. And once we get the lesson, and fear knows that, okay, now I delivered the lesson. I've been trying to deliver this lesson for 30 years, and this guy or girl has been running away. Finally, now he or she is in front of me. I delivered the message. Now I don't need to do anything. And once as a human, sitting in front of that fear, that monster, that, oh, actually, this monster was trying to teach me this lesson. Thank you very much. No more. It's gone. So that is another one. And of course, there are many things will show up during the ceremonies, and there will be many questions. And usually it is most of the time related to the inner child. Then there's a lot of integration after the Arbol method. And actually before the Arbol method, I start working with people before even they come here for the retreat, getting them mentally prepared on a psychological level, connecting with their fears, with their inner child, with their traumas and wounds. So that is the whole process in a nutshell. I hope I did justice to it.
Yeah, totally. I am looking forward to read the book. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, I made some notes. It's so good that we are talking about this, and I really have the intention and hope that people who listen, and maybe never did anything like that, maybe this will be inspiration and support for them, just, taking the first step, because it's such an important thing. And I think, if we are not healthy, like it doesn't matter what do we have in our life, materially speaking, you won't be able to enjoy it, and I certainly know from many people who were blessed with a lot of abundance, but they were unable to really enjoy and receive that because of, their internal turmoil and traumas and, so on and so forth. So just really emphasizing that we are not doing this because, oh, I don't have a better pastime, like than to do inner child work. It's really, I think it's a necessity if you want to be well, like on every level. If you want to be happy, if you want to be content, this is something that you need to pass through to come to that place. And it's a necessity, in a way, in order to be healthy and happy. And what you said at the beginning of connecting with the roots, or connecting with the child, or connecting with those fears or traumas, I just wanted to express for people to understand that when a trauma happens, there is a fragmentation. So when we're talking about inner child, people who never did inner child work, like they have a child aspect that is separate from the adult aspect. So it's like a little bit schizophrenic, situation, but it's really what's happening. And you can see that very clearly when you observe people, and you observe adult people or even older people behaving like a child, throwing a tantrum, being completely irrational, and that's what's happening. So when we are triggered, and something triggers that child self, then you regress back into that aspect which is separate, and you start reacting from that and acting out, and you are a child. Then you are that 5-year-old. You are not the adult part of yourself. The mature part is not present in those moments. And then whatever is going on, when it's completed, you kind of come back to the adult and the mature. So there is this separation, there is this fragmentation, this split between the child aspect and the adult aspects, and you are like switching back and forth, and you are either trapped in the child and reacting from there, or you are in the adult self. And what we are talking about here today is in order to heal and to become whole, what healing is, we need to integrate this aspect. So we kind of, dismantle that wall and that barrier that separate it from the child aspect, the adult aspect, and we start to merge that together. We start to integrate, as you said, we start to invite that child, we start to listen to that child, we start to ask these good questions, that you mentioned. What are you trying to teach me? I have 3 questions that I love using, in my practice, which is, what do you need from me? What do you want from me? And how would you feel if I would give that to you? So just, starting to connect these are good, I think, tools for people just to start that connection, because you are separated, from. That's why a lot of people not aware of that child self, because it's kind of separated. So just starting to connect and inviting that child into the present moment with the adult. So it's not that I'm either the child or the adult, but I am the adult, and I'm inviting that child to be present here with me, with the adult self. And then from my adult self, it's kind of, I think it's like a type of reparenting that we really do in therapy, that you giving that to that child, what was not given, or that comfort, or that support, or that guidance, or whatever was needed. Now we are providing that in the present moment. As you said, in the quantum reality, it's like all happening all at once. So it doesn't matter, really how much time it passed. And by doing this, we start to integrate and merge that aspect, and the result of that will be, when we are integrated, that we won't have those triggers that we completely lose the adult self and become reactive, from a childish place. We won't have that anymore, because but we still will have, obviously, the qualities of the child integrated into the adult self, just as like curiosity or innocence or all of these things, we keep that, but it will be part of the adult, the mature personality, so to say. And there is many ways, how people can go about this, and then some tools that you mentioned, like meditation and guided visualizations, to access these parts and to receive more information of the story and what's going on, or using plants. I'm a big fan of using a doll. I do use a doll. I have a doll myself, and I do use it with my clients, to do like real somatic experiencing, that for real, to hold that doll and that child and to play with him or her, or to make her part of your life, and acknowledge and take care of her or him, for a while. And yeah, it's like I work with adults, and nobody ever said that this is ridiculous, I'm not gonna do it. It's very powerful. So if you're thinking that that's ridiculous, like just give it a go, because it some people think, yeah, what's the point of doing that, like I'm not, I'm an adult, I'm not doing those kind of things. But it is so powerful. As you said, it's completely different when you're reading a psychology book about the psychology of this, or the psychology of trauma or whatever. That's not the same when you are holding physically, a doll or something, and talking to it, and asking, and so that's something that I really like to use. And obviously, as you mentioned, like somatic experiencing, like expressing, not just talking about these things, but expressing. So if that child wants to play or have an ice cream or whatever, like really doing that, not just talking about it, and doing this kind of reparenting. That's what I think, it means to start that integration of that child self. And I think that a lot of things that you mentioned, and I know that you wrote a book about it, and we are doing, this podcast and several podcasts about this topic. But I think, that what people can do is really learn some tools. Like, so what, as I understand your work as well, you're teaching people these tools, these approaches, so they can continue this work, because as you said, it's a lifelong journey. So if somebody goes home from a retreat, that doesn't mean that, okay, now you're integrated your child and it's done. You're like, it's never gonna come, so I really love, the idea that giving people a framework, giving people a toolbox, and then giving people experiences. So first, I think it's important that people have support at the beginning, because when they go back to the child self, especially if there was severe trauma, that can be very frightening and very scary, and it can bring up a lot of fear. So I think it's great to do it, with a physical support of somebody or a group or a retreat or something, to take those first steps. And then, learning these tools and giving these tools to people, so they can take that into their life, and with that awareness, with that experience, with that knowledge, with those tools, they can continue, doing this reparenting, this integrating, this uprooting, and this, like, self-nourishing. It's like really like nourishing that part of yourself who probably didn't receive love or care or support or whatever was needed, that was not provided, in that moment when the experience happened, like providing that now to ourselves, like from ourselves. And that's a very empowering experience. So if people who listen now and think that, oh, okay, I'm a grown-ass man and I'm never gonna hold the doll and cry with it, that's ridiculous. I can tell you that this is a very empowering, experience, and the consequences and the results, if you're doing this work, it will be personal empowerment. It will be, standing in your center. It be feeling confident in all the situations that you felt insecure, maybe your whole life, and you had to mask that, in certain ways. And just, there is a huge benefit of doing this work that we haven't mentioned so far so much. But yeah, like personal empowerment and health, healthy relationships. I think that's what I would point out also. For me, as you said, how can you relate to a person in a healthy way if we are not relating to ourselves like in a healthy way? If we are fragmented, if we are separated, if we push some aspects away or treat that child within ourselves unconsciously, saying, just go away, I don't want to see you, I don't want to hear you, I don't want to feel these things. Like, so I really truly believe and find in my life experience that, repairing this relationship with ourselves, and maybe it's one inner child, but I think we have many aspects that needs to be integrated. So, but now we are talking about the child. It's major, because that child didn't grow up, that didn't mature. So how do we want to have an adult relationship with another adult in a healthy way if we have aspects that are 5 years old and that come into play, and take over, temporarily in certain situations? So I think that's the, apart from the personal empowerment and self-confidence, I would say creating healthy, loving relationships in your life, romantic, not romantic, business, like sisterhood, brotherhood, whatever way, whatever kind of relationship, that was like major for me in order to be able to relate in a more satisfying way to people, and not just drama. That was like pretty much before, like chaos. Do you have like, first of all, do you only work with the medicine, with this method? Or some people say, hey, I really want to do the Arbol method and everything, but I don't want to drink ayahuasca, I don't want to take any medicine, I'm totally freaked out. Can those people, use the same framework, without the medicine?
Great question. And yes, when I started the Arbol method, I was actually first launched online. And thanks to the COVID, actually, last year, when I was in Canada, stuck there for about 10 months, I believe. Uh, I'm like, okay, we gotta have it online. Like people need healing, and in these times, there has to be a way. So it is available online too, through Zoom, just like calls like this, or just the phone. The whole process is available, and that is about 8 weeks process. People do not need to have the medicine, and of course, that's understandable. Not everybody wants to do it, or they're not ready for it, or there are many thousands of different reasons. So that does not mean people cannot benefit from the Arbol method. They can, and I have worked with a lot of people uh, all over the world. Actually, when I was in Canada, when I launched the program in first group, I believe we had 8 people from Switzerland, from Germany, from Canada, from the US, so everywhere, and that was a blessing actually to see how it can work, and it did work. So yes, it is available with medicine, without medicine, one-on-one, in physical state, or online.
Awesome. That's what we need. Making it available, for everybody who plans to walk down this journey. What was like for you, or what is it for you now that you look back on your journey, that you would say, okay, thanks to this work that I did, with the inner child, now I feel different this way or that way, or my relationships are different this way or that way, like just to give people, a little bit of signpost of what is possible and what they can expect.
Well, for me, the way I explain it to my clients is, first, it's about your healing, your own personal healing, because that's what we want in the beginning. But then to continue that healing personally, you have to give back somehow. And giving back and inspiring other people is a, is the best way to find out if your work, the work you're doing yourself, is it working or not. Because sometimes when we are in a healing process, our own healing, we can box ourselves and we don't see if there's any actual changes happening, right? But once we start using the same methods or same techniques which worked for ourselves, and we share it with other people, then we can see the transformation in them, and then we know, oh, okay, yes, I can see the transformation. It's really helping, and actually this is how I was healed too. So we can appreciate the whole process. So for me, same way, it started for myself. It was all about me, and I want to emphasize on that. A lot of people, they come and they say, but it's going to take a lot of time, and it'll take time away from my loved ones or from my work, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. But mostly it is the ego talking. Ego doesn't want to go in the process.
Right.
So they're like, oh, it sounds selfish. And I'm like, no, this is not selfish. This is actually good. You're doing it for yourself. If you don't heal yourself, you cannot help other people. So this is not being selfish, you know? So I started my work with myself through plant medicine and through working with the mentor. And what that showed me was not only a great bond with my own inner vessel, my own inner child, which brought me a lot of happiness and joy in just simple things. That made me realize that the happiness and joy, I have always read about it and heard about it from other people, that it's not outside, but I never really got it from inside. So once I did this work, I found out, oh yeah, that is true. In order to be happy, that 5-year-old Faisal or that 10-year-old or 20-year-old, he doesn't need a big car or another, big house, or a lot of money. Actually, what he needs is that ice cream or the little dinky car toy, those things. That's what he needs. Or maybe that, or just a cuddle with the wife or with another human. That's all he needed. So this is how my own life started changing. I started seeing subtle changes.
Mm.
And again, I wanted to emphasize this too, is this work is deep. This is hard work. This is long work. It takes time, but the most profound and most rewarding work you will ever do. So it
Mm.
takes time. People, they have expectations. I had expectation too. Actually, it's a true story. When I started working with my inner child, I was like, yeah, man, this is cool. I would do exercises with my mentor. I'm like, yeah, I'm healing, I'm healed. And then I'll go back to my mentor and he will, go dig deep a little bit. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even start yet. And, and he said, this is a lifelong process. And again, being me, being my ego, I started working with the plant medicine. And after like a couple of years, I'm like, yeah, now I know a lot of stuff. I have healed myself and I have done 50 ceremonies. I'm healed, I'm good. And then I'll go back into the next ceremony and the medicine will come and kick my ass again. It's like, no, no, you haven't solved this side yet. You just scraped the surface, scratched the surface. So I'm like, okay. So that is still going on after 10 years, actually. Um, so how did it transform in a bigger way is when I started seeing big transformation in my relationships with my wife, with my daughters. Just by working with my own inner child, I was able
Mm.
to drop myself at their level when they were like 7-year-old, 10-year-old. I was able to bring that father, the big guy who thought he knows everything because he's a dad or he's a father. I was able to connect with that little 5-year-old Faisal in when I was with my daughters, when I was going to the playground, or when I was having a talk with one of the daughters. I would actually imagine him, and I'll bring him with me, and I'll ask him, okay, so how should I talk to my daughter? What should we do? And of course, once you are with the child, they talk differently. They don't have that agenda a father will have. You know so I was able to have conversations by getting rid of my fatherly mind. And it's not a bad thing. Sometimes you need that fatherly mind, to press an issue or to make your kids safer in some situations or teach them something. But there were some situations where I did not have to be a father, but I did not know how not to be a father.
Right.
And that's when inner child work came in, and I'll bring that vessel in. I'm like, okay, so how do we play, man? What do we do? And then he will say something, okay, let's do this. Let's go to the slide and let's just let me play. And I'll get out of my own way and he will show up and I'll play. And that created such a strong bond, without any fear,
Mm.
because my daughters started seeing me as another human being, as their friend, also having respect as a father, but also having a friend in me. So the relationships became transparent, very open, honest, without any fear. Like they did not have a fear that, okay, if we say something or express ourselves, our father will say this, or um, or put a curfew on us or things like that. We never had that. And same thing with my wife. Working with my inner child, I was able to see in her inner child. She also did her own inner child work. So we both were able to see those two little inner childs, inner children, which had traumas.
Right.
And these two adults were talking or fighting or arguing because those two little ones, they never got hurt. So through this inner child work, we were able to talk to each other at that level, getting rid of all the adult ego and all that crap, and actually seeing each other at that level as kids and finding out what does she actually want in her life, what makes her happy. And she started seeing what Faisal needs, what makes me happiness. And normally, again, these are little things. This is
Right.
like, I need more time alone. Okay, she might need some more appreciation. So things like that, we started finding things like that out in each and every relationship, and then going outside the house uh, with my um, clients, with my people who help me, the workers. I started seeing their inner children in them, because I became that, like I had that mentality by then, that okay, if this person is acting weird or they're not listening to me, what is actually going on? So instead of coming as a boss, I came as a child, and actually see what's happening in their life. How can I connect with them, not talking about the issue, but actually talking about what's happening in their own life? And that changed everything. I started
Totally.
having more compassion, and people started understanding me. They saw me, started seeing me someone who actually is taking interest in their lives. And that it just keeps amazing me, like how simple it is. And that is just working with the inner child, just making that connection you know and many years ago, I was very conscious about myself because of my upbringing and what happened to me. I was always like, how do I look? How do I say things? I wasn't sure if am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Um, my job was to make everybody happy in a party, so I was the joker of the party because that gave me some attention. So I started seeing that that was why I was doing that stuff. And I don't need to do that kind of stuff. What makes me happy is small things. So that let go of a lot of pressure. So I started living for myself and not for people. So that was a big
I
change.
love that. Let's just breathe into that. I think that's a great kind of summary, living for yourself and not for other people. And I really so relate to what you were sharing, especially relating differently to people, because relating to their child, because what happens is when somebody is in their inner child, and that makes us triggered, then we regress back to the inner. So it's like the two children are having a fight, and what you just described, that's exactly was my experience, that once you start doing this work, even though you might have a slight trigger, you are able to recognize what's going on and not go back to that chance and react from there, but stay present and respond with that awareness that, hey, this person is in their child self right now, acting out, and what can I do to make them feel better, so they calm down and relax, and we can have a good conversation or whatever is going on, right? So while in the past I would be just super triggered and I would just react from my child self, and then it would be conflict and just like things getting out of control. So yeah, that's definitely, and that compassion and that presence, like I feel that. And just to say to people, that when we are saying that this is a lifelong process, I don't want to scare people away to say that, hey, I better not start it because it's never going to end. But I think that's definitely, it gets easier. I think, like in a way that the more awareness you have, and of course you have experience that this is good for you, this is beneficial, you feel better, other people feel better around you and, in relation to you. So this is something that you benefit from and have tangible, like outcomes and good things that come out of it. And also, once you work through that initial separation and that trauma, it does get a little bit easier, I think, that, and we don't have such a big resistance. I think that the big resistance is at the beginning for people because they push this aspect away for a long time. So now to reconnect and to look into it and acknowledge it, that can be quite shocking experience or challenging, at the beginning. But once you are kind of more familiar with that aspect and you creating this relationship is I feel it that it gets softer and easier, even though there is new layers of learning and experiencing and integrating, but it's not so shocking and jarring, than at the beginning of people that, okay, I didn't even know that I have this part of me, and now it's like big reveal, I'm not really happy what I see. And as you said, like, we want to instinctually go away from the discomfort. So we have aspects and the ego and other aspects that doesn't want to go towards there and doesn't want to integrate and doesn't want to deal with this whole thing because it's uncomfortable. So, we need to make that commitment and that conscious effort at the beginning. And I think, especially at the beginning, if people, if they are aware that they have trauma, like, like severe trauma, like sexual abuse or something like that, I would say that, the best asset for those people is somebody to guide them through, the beginning of the process. Like, I don't think, well, I think that everything is possible, so it's possible to do it on your own, but I mean, it's just like no point, like it would be so much longer, so much more difficult, and most people are not equipped, as we talked about. We come up with these tools and with this imagery to help people. Most people are not equipped, to do reparenting and to bring in psychological knowledge and different healing tools and to kind of operate on themselves while they are in the experience, like that requires, high level of expertise and awareness, I think. And so for those people who are out there and considering maybe, stepping on this path, just, get a good healer, a therapist, a guide, who you trust, who you resonate with. We're going to include, here all of our availabilities and the link to the Arbol method and everything. And get help and support, because it is not an easy work to do. So, and you don't have to do it alone. There is plenty of people who've been through it and, who have a little bit more maybe resources or understanding that are happy to support you and hold space and create space for you and guide you, at the beginning until you get the hang of it, and you learn certain things, and then you can just, include this in your life, so to say. It doesn't have to be something that I'm going to a therapy session now and that's the time, to deal with this, but it becomes something that is going to be really part of your life. So I think, that I wanted to emphasize, that support is very important and very beneficial, because these are, intense experiences, and people, I find that sometimes people who kind of dip into it and then they're like, oh no, too much, and just better not go there, I'm too scared, I'm too uncomfortable. So people are likely to give up sometimes this work because they feel that, oh, I can't do this, and sometimes it is true that we can't do it alone, because that child can't do it, that 5-year-old child really can't do it. It needs, other support that is always available. So, and that's why we are, having this conversation to raise awareness around this. Anything else that you wanna like put out there right now, as like message to people that is like, resonating with you in that moment?
Well, something to add to what you just said, and it's very, very important. A lot of us, including myself, it's weird that how we have been programmed, all the humans. Like if we have a problem, let's say with my wife, the natural tendency is to go to a couple of guys and go to a bar and just complain and be in a victim mode, wine with the boys, having the wine glass in hand. We all do that. Ladies do the same thing. And we think that is going to solve the problem, and we spend money on that, to going to the bar or drinks or whatever it is. And when it comes to our actual healing, at a psychological level, we start saying, oh, no, this is too much. I don't want to see a shrink. It's going to cost me a lot. So no, I'm fine. So a lot of times I don't understand, like, people cannot see that. What is helping you? Actually going to the bar or going to a party and whining with your friends for 30 years and still not get any answer or stay at the same place, or going to someone who can get you out, with some work forever, and you feel good forever, be happy and joyful. Like, you don't see that. But again, the thing is, this is how we are programmed. Our ego's number one job is to keep us safe. So ego knows, if I go see a psychologist or if I do a plant medicine ceremony, there are some dangers. I'm going to see some things, the stuff I haven't seen for many, many years. So let's not go there. It's a good idea just to go and have a drink with the boys or the girls. So now this process is kind of lifelong, and I didn't mean to scare people. What that means is, actually, there's a beauty in it. The reason I say is, this is a process, like self-exploration is a process where every time you explore a little bit, there is more understanding, there's a deeper understanding, and it becomes easier. It's like swimming. In the beginning, you're probably going to drown, like if you're not working with someone, right? Or one of your friends is not helping you, you're going to freaking drown. In the
Yeah.
beginning, you can probably go for like 2 minutes swim, and then after practice, you can go for 2 miles. But it never ends. In order to keep good at it, you still need to practice, and you still need to go for another mile or whatever. You still need to keep practicing. Same thing is this work. And also, talking about swimming, if you swim a lot, it becomes more easier. You can go into the ocean way farther than just the beach, and you can see more good stuff. You can go in the deeper end, and it becomes more exciting. And there is a little bit of excitement that if I do more practice, I can maybe go even deeper and I can find more things. So same thing with this work, is plant medicine work and work with psychology, is the more you do it, the more fun it brings. Of course, at times you open up another can of worms too, but there's excitement. There's like, yes, I want to find something else now. So there's a little fire all the time. My belief is, if this work finishes, let's say in 1 year, and you're done, then what you're gonna do? There's no excitement left. You probably
Right.
go back into the same habit. So it's good to have a good habit of exploration. I was recently in Canada. I just went back for a vacation, and I was going through some, first of all, it was changed country, the energy, and the whole situation, and I had some questions coming up about existence and things like that. So you see, when you work in this field, the bigger questions, they start coming up. So my questions were now like the existence, the non-existential crisis, and things like that. So I'm having that, and one of my original mentors, amazing guy, he's the one I started my work with. So I was lucky enough to have a meeting with him. Like, okay, so have you ever had this thing? Sometimes you cannot talk to everyone about these things, like existential crisis and big questions. Who am I, and what I'm doing, and where I'm going, blah, blah, blah. So you cannot, because people don't understand. So I asked him reluctantly, do you know this existential crisis? Like, yeah, I know. I was in it in like 3-4 months ago. And he's like 60 something and way more evolved, like amazing. So like, okay, like, how come? He's like, that never ends. Like, every time you evolve, every time you come to a stage and you think that, oh, now I know, it also brings a deeper question. And that is universe's way of keep your exploration going, right? That's why I would say that you're always learning. Even a teacher is always learning. So he's like, yes, I was in the crisis, and it happens every few years. It will happen, and he said himself, like, I was in there for 2 months. And I'm like, holy shit. I mean, if a person like him can be in there, so who am I, right? So then and then I'm like, okay, so how do I get out of it? And what do we do? Da, da, da. So we had a long chat, but the point of keep saying this is like this work, keeps going, but it becomes beautiful. You have a better understanding of life, about universe, about relationship, about yourself, way better in my opinion than crying with the boys over drinks or with the girls and keeping in the same situation for 40 years doing 9 to 5 job and never be happy. So I rather be doing this work, inspiring other people, inspiring myself, helping other people. I rather do this because I see this work brings happiness and joy. And also, my mentor told me, he said, you need to have a mentor, at least one mentor, who you can go to. It could be a guru, it could be a deity, or it could be a psychologist, or it could be integration coach, whoever it is, you need to have one because our egos become stronger and stronger and we start thinking I'm evolved, I don't need anyone, I know enough. And sometimes we feel shameful too. I don't want to talk about these things. That will make me feel better. People feel me. That will make me feel weaker. People will think that I'm weak. I Here I come as a facilitator, and I also have these kind of questions. What will people think? But it's a good thing. That means I am evolving actually. And for that evolution, I need to have a master with me. So if you're watching this, get a mentor, whoever it is. Could be Nina, it could be me, it could be thousands of other people out there, but have someone, you cannot get out of the rut you are in by yourself. I mean, it is possible, but it will take you a lot of time, a lot of effort. Um, so it's better to have someone who can hold you, and it doesn't have to be like a guru, or the most expensive person in the planet. All it needs is someone who has walked this path and who is just a few steps ahead of you. That's all it takes. All right.
Absolutely.
So have someone in your life who can inspire you. That would be my
Yes.
message.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. And I'm really appreciating, this conversation because I feel that this is even more difficult for men in general. Like women are more likely to be vulnerable and share things and talk about their stuff, just in general, while men more conditioned to be that strong, like in control, and a lot of men see vulnerability as a weakness. They perceive it that that's something weak, so therefore I don't want to be weak. And it's like quite the opposite. I think we can agree that vulnerability is not weak, it's the strength, really to be vulnerable. And what you mentioned, that this continuous exploration, that becomes like a very important part of your life, leads to this expansion, because what we are talking about, we are integrating these aspects to the whole self. So at the beginning we have quite a limited kind of perspective and where we operate from. So the more we explore ourselves, and the world, and connect to other aspects of ourselves and integrate that, the more we expand, and therefore our experience of life becomes more full, in every possible way. As you said, more joyful, more vivid, more present, more, all of these things, because we are bigger, we are growing, literally, we are expanding ourselves, and then we are exploring, experiencing, and expanding, and then so on and so forth. And I think, once people go through these cycles a couple of times, that resistance really goes away. And we always laugh with my friends. We say we love our triggers, because I know that this difficulty that I'm facing now is bringing me to that next expansion. I know that from experience, so I don't really have a lot of resistance now. I'm feeling more excited about it and more like, yay, bring it on. As you said, it's become something that is, quite joyful, and we appreciate it and we embrace it, instead of resisting, and that's quite a different ball game. So yeah, I hope that this conversation helped people and inspired people to start or to continue their journey, with the inner child and integrating our different aspects. So we're definitely going to continue talk about this topic because it's so much and so big, and maybe bring examples, from our practice, for people to really understand, how is this working. Right now, I know that you are in Costa Rica in your center. People can see your beautiful maloca where the ceremonies are there, right? Where you are sitting right now. So thank you for sharing this energy with us. And do you want to say a few words about, the next couple of months and what are your offerings and programs that are, if people are interested to join?
Yes, thank you. Yes, we have on our website scheduled for next couple of months, different ceremonies happening. And we are not just about plant medicine. We have a really good team here. We work with not just the master plant medicine, but also with Wepe, with Cambo, which is a beautiful medicine for cleansing physical, mental, and spiritual energies. We also do breath work. We also do meditations. We also do yoga. So there are many, many different things we do. So you don't need to come here and we're gonna shove down, the plant medicine. No, we will entertain you with whatever you need. We have healthy eating here, healthy meals, and sometimes, you know what? I'm gonna change the screen so you can see the where we are at. So sometimes
Yes,
just being in a
nature.
space like nature, thank you. Nature, a jungle setting, where we are is we are, preserving uh, the mountains, the trees, and everything. And that's what our main agenda is. So we have cabins here. You can just come here, and sometimes people just want to come and stay for a week, have healthy food, just contemplate by themselves. And that's all it takes. It doesn't have to be plant medicine. But again, if you are into plant medicine, we have retreats. We also facilitate very intimate one-to-one or small group ceremonies because not everybody wants to be in a group, especially newcomers. So we specialize in those ceremonies. So here we are from outside.
Wow.
There it is. Yeah, so this is in
So
a nutshell.
beautiful.
And then we have, of course, cabins and whatnot. But at the end, I want to say is, first of all, thank you very much for listening to us. And thank you, Nina, sister, for giving me time to express myself. At the end, all I would say is the biggest thing, the biggest step you can take in your life and be in control of your own life is do something about it, whatever it is. If it is plant medicine, go do it. If it is connecting with a mentor, with a psychologist, with someone who can raise your vibration, do it. Do not wait. I waited for a long time, and many of us, we do. And sometimes it is too late. You want to be happy, this is the time. Do not wait for and think that maybe I can work really hard 9 to 5 for another 5 years, and then I will work on on myself. Most of the times it is too late. Our physicality is not there. Our physical bodies are not there. We're mentally so messed up that it will take a long time to be
Yeah.
healed. So do it now, and then you will know that how easy it is to be happy. You do not need to work from 9 to 5. Sometimes we are stuck in relationships for decades, hoping that maybe next year I'll talk to her or him honestly and share my stuff and things will get better. But that never happens. We keep doing it, we keep doing it. So do something about it. That's the only way. There is no magic pill. If somebody is saying that you can have one meeting and they will do some kind of magic or whatnot and your life will change, no, trust me. Nina and I, we both know.
Yeah.
Right, sister? It doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah, I wish, we would have the magic pill, but yeah, I completely agree. Like, don't wait any longer. The time is
No,
now,
get
you
off of
know.
your ass and do something about it. So
Exactly.
there you
Set
go.
yourself free and yeah, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can receive all these
There
good
you
new
go.
podcasts and find us on Clubhouse and yeah, connect with Faisal Rouhani Wellness Center with Center CENTRE, right?
You got it. Yeah.
.com and the Arbol Method.com or what was
Yeah,
that?
thearbolmethod.com too. So yeah, so two websites.
Thearbolmethod.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we're gonna be back, and I'm super excited about. Actually, we are launching a training next year, next April 2022, about ayahuasca assisted therapy facilitator training. So this is for people who are interested to support people in their preparation and integration work, with this particular medicine. So this is not a training for ceremonial space holders or to serve the medicine, but this is a training to facilitate the prep and the integration, what we were talking about today. So that's super exciting. We're gonna put the link in the description as well, so check that out. And if you feel called to serve this way, we all share today like how stepping into service is big part of the healing and the journey. So if you're there and if you feel called to it, like, check out this offering. And please leave us your comments and your questions and your thoughts and your ideas, so we can gear the conversations towards what you are interested in. And thank you so much for listening, and thank you, brother, for making time for today and being here with me. I so appreciate you, and we're gonna be back soon.
Thank you, sister. Appreciate that. And thank
Lots
you
of
to you
love.
who is watching us. Thank you for giving us
Yes,
your time. Thank you. Till next time.
absolutely. Thank you. Till next time.